Both candidates are on the campaign trail today in battleground states. Donald Trump was in Michigan, while Vice President Kamala Harris is making stops in Nevada and Arizona. Also on the trail tonight, another big name, former President Barack Obama. He's headlining a rally in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that's set to begin any moment now. We will bring you those remarks live when they start. It's somewhat of a full circle moment, as Harris was one of Obama's earliest supporters, knocking on doors for his presidential campaign in Iowa way back in 2007. Now the former president gets to return the favor. This will be the first of a series of appearances for Obama in the final stretch of Harris's campaign, one that has already drawn a lot of comparisons to his 2008 bid. But there's one factor of this race that would have been mind-boggling to anyone in the year 2008. In the span of 24 hours, you have an Obama and a Cheney campaigning in the same state for the same candidate. It's just another indication of how broad the Harris coalition has become. Last night, former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney held an event with 3 former members of the Trump administration, where they all warned the country against ever letting their former boss back into the White House.
When you come to a place as a country where you have one party that is dedicated to erasing the truth about the most serious attack on our capital since the War of 1812, that party has lost its way, and those are not people that we can trust to lead us. So, look, I think it's not only Donald Trump who has to be defeated on November 5th, but also those who have enabled him.
Joining me now is an all-star panel. Claire McCaskill, former Democratic senator from Missouri and MSNBC political analyst. Cornell Belcher, pollster and MSNBC political analyst. Sarah Matthews, former deputy press secretary in the Trump White House. She was part of that Cheney event last night. And Juanita Tolliver, MSNBC political analyst, host of the What a Day podcast, and author of the upcoming book, A More Perfect Party. Couldn't be more excited with this coalition that I have here. I'm going to start with the people at the table. Sarah, just tell me what the event was like. Tell me how this was put together, because that is pretty amazing to me. It's one thing to publicly release a statement and say, hey, I don't think this guy is good. It's something else to organize and publicly get together and say, I need you to vote for the other candidate.
Yeah, this was the first time that the 4 of us have all been on stage together, and we're all outspoken Trump critics and still identify as Republicans, though, and have said that we're not going to be voting for him and encouraged others to vote for Kamala Harris because we believe that Donald Trump is such a threat to democracy. And we all know that the stakes are too high in this election. Right. So we don't want to sit on the sidelines. We wanted to get our message out there in battleground Pennsylvania and Montgomery County. And we had a great turnout. It was around 1,300 people showed up, and they were energized. And even driving into the suburbs of Philly, I saw so many Harris Wall signs, and it gave me such hope. And so that was the message that we were there to spread. We wanted to lay out what a second Trump term would look like and encourage people to show up on Election Day.
Claire, I want to ask you this. From a pure campaign running for office standpoint, how powerful is it for the Harris campaign to have not just Republicans, but former Trump employee Republicans speaking on her behalf? What kinds of people does that appeal to, not just in the suburbs, but even throughout the state when people hear this story?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about a permission structure, and we're seeing some evidence of that. You know, I'm very suspect of all the polling at this point, but I have noticed a trend where we're now up to about 9% of the Republicans who say they're voting for Kamala Harris, and that is more than we saw, say, 2 months ago. So there's that. And there's also this issue that I think is really important, Jason, and that is this is a binary choice. I want to say this very clearly for all of our friends that don't think Kamala Harris is perfect, that don't think she is strong enough in terms of her language or her actions in protecting innocent Palestinians, or she's not doing enough on an issue like climate that they think she should be doing. Anyone who does not vote for Kamala Harris is supporting Donald Trump. And it's just that simple. And I think what you'll see tonight with Barack Obama is he'll do the masterful job he always does, reminding everyone that this isn't about judging her against a perfect standard based on the issue you care most about. This is about whether or not you want to stay home and help elect Donald Trump. And that's what all these Republicans coming out, that's what all of the Trump former staffers and cabinet members and national security people are saying to America. Hey, you're not a Democrat if you vote for Kamala Harris. You are a patriotic American.
Cornel, I want to take this to you. The new popular word is permission structure. I hear a lot of people saying it. As a political scientist, I'm sitting here kind of digging through it. What is this permission? Because my immediate brain is nobody has to give me permission if I want to vote for somebody. I'm going to vote for them. I know what a validator is. I know if this is a person who seems like me who says you should vote for this candidate. But explain to the audience what this sort of permission structure idea is and how you see it playing out in polling.
Well, thanks for giving me the easy question.
I know.
Well, you know, brother, we are actually in a grand experiment because, like what Senator McCaskill just touched on is, you know, are we going to see more Republicans cross over and vote D this time than we've seen? Look, I've always been skeptical about this permission structure, this ideal that you're going to get a nice segment of Republicans crossing over. We certainly haven't seen that in recent elections. But what the permission structure does is it's a self-other expectation, right? It is if he thinks it's okay or if they're doing it, well, then it's okay for me to do it as well. And I got to tell you, if you look back at sort of, you know, mainstream conservative, traditional conservatives and Republicans, it doesn't get any bigger permission structure than the Cheneys, right? The Cheneys are Republicans, right? And so if Vice President Cheney is okay, well then maybe it's okay. I think that's the permission structure. But it's a grand experiment that we're seeing here. And if it works, look, if it works, it will be the most diverse. The biggest, broadest, most diverse coalition that we've seen in this country in a very, very long time. And as Claire McCaskill said, I think there's some evidence of it, but we got to see it in battleground states. When I look at the suburbs and when I look at some of these more rural areas, you know, will she do 2-3 points better in some of those more rural areas of Pennsylvania and Wisconsin than Biden and Obama did? I think if we see that permission structure working.
So, Juanita, when I hear about this permission structure, and I hear about this in battleground states, right, my mind goes to, you know, Darth Vader saying, look, I've had my issues with the Emperor, right, but you got to vote for Leia this time. Because, yeah, it's the first thing that occurs to me. How does this messaging hit Democrats, though? Because I know some liberal Democrats that they find this frustrating. They're like, wait a minute, I don't want to share my big tent with these other people. How do you tailor the message so that you are appealing to Republicans who are like, hey, I don't want to risk democracy, but also not offending Democrats who are like, these are the people who've been throwing tomatoes at us for 8 years?
Well, you just said it with the first part of that statement, because this is about survival. Mm-hmm. Survival for us as a democratic society, survival for the sanctity of our Constitution. Put it in those broader terms. And that's something that is going to have mass appeal across partisan lines. Democrats can get behind that because they know, hey, we're not fooling with y'all once we get back to anything that represents a normal substantive dialogue about the issues.
Right.
But right now, for our collective well-being and survival, and for the sake of beating Donald Trump, we can deal with it. Now, I do think that there is something that the Harris campaign is going to have to continue to balance. And we saw that play out last week. Remember when her campaign was in Michigan? They had conversations with Arab Americans and Muslim Americans in Michigan, a critical state where the uncommitted campaign garnered 101,000 primary votes for the uncommitted movement. Mm-hmm. Biden only won Michigan by 150,000 votes in 2020.
Right.
So that is the balance work of, yes, make your broader appeal for survival, but keep the home base happy too.
Sarah, what kind of private conversations do you hear? I mean, don't put names on them, right? But when you're talking to, you know, your fellow Republicans, you know, are they saying to you secretly, privately in text messages, chat groups, oh my God, thank you, because I feel the same way? Or are you having people say, look, we can ride out another Trump administration. Why are you bringing the alarm bells? What kind of things do you hear amongst your Republican friends?
It's a mix.
Okay.
So I get people who are texting me privately saying, thank you for what you're doing, really appreciate your voice being out there. And these are people who work for Republicans, work in politics and follow all of this, but that aren't going to speak out.
Right.
And that's okay, but I know that they know that their vote is private. So these are Republicans who may go to the ballot box and cast a vote and cross that party line. And I hope that we're giving them that permission structure to do so and creating it. But then on the flip side, I do get a lot of pushback of people who are saying, how could you vote for a Democrat? And you're saying you're willing to set policy aside in this election. Policy doesn't matter to you. Of course it matters. But like you were saying, there will come a day where we can debate policy again. And I look forward to that day. But we need to defeat Donald Trump first, because to me, Constitution and character also matter when voting for president. And Donald Trump has shown us that he will not uphold his oath of office and he will not defend the Constitution. So I don't want to put someone like that back in power. So if we had run any other Republican, they probably would have had my vote. I say that, there are some exceptions in there.
Right, we got a list here that we got to filter through.
There's a couple weird guys out there,
There's a couple weirdos that might not get my vote, but for the most part, I probably would have, because I don't think they necessarily would have risked democracy. But that's why myself and Liz Cheney and others, we know that there are some things that are bigger than party line and that we're willing to prioritize the country over our party. And so we are willing to cross the line, and hopefully other Republicans will follow suit. And I do want to add quickly, too, that in Pennsylvania, in the primary process, there were 158,000 Republicans who voted for Nikki Haley. That is a closed primary. No Democrats or independents can vote in it.
Right.
And those people knew that Donald Trump was still going to be the nominee, yet they showed up in protest to vote. So if we can convince some of those folks to not sit this election out or leave the top of their ballot blank and to cross over and vote for VP Harris, then that's a win.